Well, hello. This is Josh, the creator of Huddle Genius, back with another Huddle Genius video. Today we are going to be drafting using Huddle Genius 1.01p. We are firing up our program now, just got our rankings completed. We are ready to roll. But before we begin, let's look at 1.01p. 1.01p, currently this is being in development, should be released today or tomorrow. Might have more features coming, but right now 1.01p introduces 5 new strategies. These strategies are very, very strict, but they are based upon the winning archetype strategies from Best Ball Manias 1 through 5. So we have Best Ball Mania 1, Best Ball Mania 2, 3, 4, 5. And what these are is they are the winning lineups archetype. And by that I mean the roster construction is going to aim to be very similar, and the picks in each round positionally will be similar. Obviously, you are not picking the same players because those players either no longer play football, are bad, or are different ADPs. This has nothing to do with the players. This is just matching the archetype that the winning lineup had. So for instance, the most important one is the quarterback, wide receiver, running back, and tight end ratios. For instance, this very first Best Ball Mania winner has a 3-4-9-2. That's 3 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 9 wide receivers, and 2 tight ends. We also have a little description there, hyper-fragile and potentially tight end targeting. And as you can see, all of these will have this long note saying that you do need a roster of 18 to use this strategy. And these are based around the first 14 rounds of the archetype. So they are not using all 18 rounds. We leave a little bit of room at the end. And whatever settings you have for third tight end, third quarterback are completely ignored. We are using what the archetype says. Now keep in mind these archetypes, like I said, are very strict. You could disable these completely if you just set them to a weight of 0. Because the thing with these archetypes is that you're going to end up with, if you let's just say you always drafted using Best Ball Mania 1 archetype, you're going to have very, very similar teams, which is not your goal using Huddle Genius. You kind of want to mix things up. So, I would sprinkle in these once in a while. Particularly, the biggest limitation would be the quarterback, because we're locking out a lot of rounds over and over. So we're either going to have one type of quarterback or another type of quarterback. The Best Ball Mania 1 here, though, 3-4-9-2, we'll switch over. We got Best Ball Mania 2 winner here, a 2-5-9-2. This one's a double hero running back with a potential elite quarterback. This one's different than the rest since it's the only one that has an elite quarterback, which makes the way Huddle Genius determines your roster a little different. And by that I mean Huddle Genius is going to find your best tier quarterback and try to get them placed, which will mess with the rounds a little bit, but it is something to keep in mind. Best Ball Mania 3 archetype is a double hero running back with elite tight end possible and later quarterbacks, and that is a 3-5-8-2. Best Ball Mania 4 archetype here, a 3-6-6-3. This is one that is basically like a 0 running back, but very aggressive on wide receivers. I believe this one is 5 wide receivers in a row, then 3 running backs in a row. So very interesting archetype here. And then Best Ball Mania 5 is a 2-5-8-3. And this one is pretty balanced. It almost reminds me of like the general best ball strategy or the blank slate, because you're just going to kind of end up with a balance. Now, of course, this is very specific. It'll tell you what you're going to be picking the first 14 rounds. So you got to keep that in mind. But yeah, these are the 5 archetypes. I weighted all these at 5. We are going to record using one of these archetypes. Whatever one rolls is going to be our choice. I'm not sure which one it's going to be. But if we do not get one on our first try, we'll re-roll until we get one. So we're going to go ahead and hop into a Best Ball Mania draft. It is Best Ball Mania 6. It is that time. I'm going to go ahead and pop that up to the front here and take my money. We're 66% full on this thing. Jeez, it is filling up quick. We are waiting for one person. And again, we are going to be using whatever strategy. Let's go ahead and hop into that draft room too. Okay, we are going to be using a Best Ball Mania 2 strategy here. As I said, this is the only one that uses the elite quarterback. So expect Lamar Jackson, expect, you know, okay, we're pick 3. Josh Allen, one of those guys. We'll see which one it is. It's Josh Allen. This is the only one, though, that uses an elite quarterback. So what makes this tricky is that, for instance, here we're using, we have a round 2 Josh Allen, which is different than the Best Ball Mania 2 winning lineup. What they actually did is 1 running back, 2 running back, and then from there, their actual quarterback pick was in round 5. But the problem is that Huddle Genius cannot guarantee you a quarterback in round 5. So what we're doing instead is that we're just trying to get any elite quarterback. Round 5 will end up being a running back anyway. So we're still largely in the spirit of this strategy. It's just a little bit more wonky because of the way it works. But as you can see here, we got Barkley, Bijan, and Gibbs coming up. Hot swap is still possible if you have that enabled for this, but because all the rounds are restricted, it can be a little difficult. The only thing we could hot swap here too is round 5. I suppose you could always hot swap to a later quarterback, like if it was a round 11 quarterback. I guess we'll just see. Maybe it will hot swap. If it does, then, well, I'm not sure. It'll be interesting. I don't know what to expect. Man, what's this guy doing? Pick a guy. There we go. All right, we'll be taking Saquon Barkley here. Do we hot swap? No, we do not. Barkley coming into play. I almost think, you know, thinking on it, maybe I'd be better off disabling hot swaps for these strategies, but I like hot swapping. I mean, with Huddle Genius right now, currently, you can change how you want everything to be. If you want hot swapping disabled, you can certainly do that. Hot swapping was enabled the last update for Huddle Genius. What hot swapping does is that if you pick an early wide receiver, tight end, or valid receiving running back, we will actually completely redo your quarterback targets to pair up with that choice. A perfect example would be you first pick Jamar Chase, and it's going to give you Joe Burrow. That's a very good example, if possible. Keep in mind, all these things come with an if possible asterisk next to it. There are many reasons it won't hot swap. Your own settings. Obviously, the first thing, exposure, shared exposure. It will not hot swap if you've already picked something that pairs with something you have, a soft target, if you already picked a quarterback target. And also, you can set how long you want to allow hot swap to last. You can have it be up to pick 96. Currently, I have it up to pick 36. That's why you see it here. But once we pick Josh Allen, it's going to be disabled anyway, since Josh Allen is a quarterback target. Basically, if you pick anything that has to do with your quarterback targets or soft targets, it will no longer consider hot swap valid. By default, hot swap is disabled when you use Huddle Genius. That's something to keep in mind as well. It is possible that there is a world we do not get Josh Allen here. We are picking Josh Allen 6 picks early, but it is one of those things that if somebody wants the #1 quarterback off the board, they're going to take him. And again, the spirit of the original strategy here for Best Ball Mania 2 was a double running back opener. And then a double wide receiver opener, and then a quarterback. But again, because of the way, I guess I prioritized the elite quarterback over the, over that necessary positional strategy just for this early part. Because if I did not force an elite quarterback, a lot of times you'd probably end up with 2 late quarterbacks. So I think the question is, what's more important, the double running backs or having that early quarterback? And I think, due to the way that the other Best Ball Mania archetype strategies work, I elected for the elite quarterback here, since the other 4 do not have that at all. looking pretty good here for Josh Allen, unless this person takes him. Nope, we do get Josh Allen here. And now we know exactly what we're going to be doing. We're going to be picking 2 wide receivers coming up next. Whoops. Not thinking here. We are pick 27. So let's see here. T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith, Mike Evans, Marvin Harrison Jr. All right, I don't need to star any more than that. I can probably star Tyreek Hill too. He is the very top of the list. AJ Brown here does get the bump up from the game stack there against the Bills. So, you know, AJ Brown versus Josh Allen sounds good. Of course, AJ Brown's long gone here. And, you know, with Huddle Genius, you're going to want to star the players that appear in the Genius picks. But a lot of times you do not need to star everything. I don't want you to feel like you're overloaded, like, hey, I got to star 12 players. You don't. All you really got to do is look at your upcoming pick up here at the top right. I'm pick 27. And I just star, you know, up to down to like 36. Like, I don't need to star every single player. If I have a lot of time, I'll star them all. You know, it's a personal preference. And we are picking Tyreek Hill here. And in the next round here, we actually are pivoting from wide receivers. Interesting. So what this means is, for some reason, the wide receiver options we had here were not very good. Either that means we had a lot of them blocked due to exposure, which is very likely. But basically, these round 4 wide receivers where we were picking did not work out. It's either the reach of that tier, the shared exposure, the exposure. It could be a lot of things. But either way here, we are actually pivoting over to a running back. So again, even though we're running the Best Ball Mania 2 archetype in this situation, you know, the Best Ball Mania 2 winning lineup archetype, it doesn't mean that you're going to be like, hey, we are 100% picking these positions every round. If Huddle Genius, you know, cannot make that work, it will call an audible, as we see here. The audible guy comes out and we pivot to something else. Currently we have James Cook, Travion Henderson, Chuba Hubbard, all starred. As you can see at the top of the list, we do have Amarian Hampton getting the bump up there. That is due to the super stack. Same for James Cook getting bumped up there for the super stack. You know, Chargers, Bills are our main 2 components of this team. Does not look like we're going to get either of those, though. It's going to probably be Travion Henderson or Chuba. Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, both not appearing due to exposure. But as you can see, like, all of these archetypes are very strict. Basically, the first 14 rounds are largely defined for you. With most of Huddle Genius, our most strict strategies only go about up to round 10. And they're usually not... They're still kind of strict, but not... This is probably about as strict as it gets. But because of the way Huddle Genius works, if something's a pivot, we'll pivot. Like, there is no... Hey, no matter what, we're picking something. There is no matter what's with Huddle Genius. If something doesn't work out, Huddle Genius will call an audible and we'll do something else, which is exactly what happened here. But this isn't that different from the spirit of the draft in that we are getting a second, somewhat, you know, early running back. Not double to open, though. Travion Henderson goes for us, puts us up to a B+, not a lot of Travion Henderson, and now we are going to a running back yet again. We have Cook and Connor. Connor is the only one here on this list. Cook is long gone. Cook still receiving that honorable mention. And as you can see, picks 6, 7 are going to be wide receivers, so we'll be picking 2 wide receivers after this, assuming everything goes to plan. I think James Conner is like just coming off exposure, yeah. So for right now, for me, I have 10.5 exposure is blocked. So James Conner, if this was draft number 97, we would not see James Conner. But since this is draft number 98, there's James Conner, and we get James Conner. James Conner joins our roster. And now we are going to the wide receivers nice and safely. We are pick 70. So, you know, just looking at this list, you know, Addison sticks out as, hey, we're probably going to get Addison, but we'll see. We're going to go ahead and start starring these other guys just in case. And again, I'm not starring every single person. You know, I'm not going to go star Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is not going to be there. Of course, I'll always look. You know, that's why I keep up on Underdog. I keep up the position. So I'll keep wide receivers up just in case. Just in case Ndunze is there. Or Zay Flowers. You never know. I doubt it. Ndunze is possible. I mean, that's 8 picks before. But I just don't see Zay Flowers being there. But I'll still obviously keep an eye on it. You do want to get in a habit, though, of not just picking something because it's there. Because, like, right now, Rashee Rice, right? Rashee Rice is there. I don't want to pick Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice right now is hidden for me due to exposure and just my own... I have him faded. So, like, you don't want to just, like, pick who's at the top. There is a reason Huddle Genius doesn't show a player. That is something to keep in mind. If you do not see a name, there's a reason you don't see a name. It could be the bye weeks. It could be your own preferences. It could be shared exposures. There is always a reason. It isn't a bug in the program. Our upcoming 3 picks after this will be wide receiver, running back, and tight end. Then finally we get Justin Herbert, rounding out our second quarterback target. I believe for this strategy, it is a round 10 quarterback. Let me check here really quick. No, round 11. So it's pretty similar to the strategy, but it is a little off. And again, a lot of this has to do with the elite quarterback setting. The other Best Ball Mania archetype settings are a little easier as far as the quarterbacks go. The quarterbacks on this one, we have to get a little more creative. So we're going to end up with like a, I don't know, 75%, 80% similarity to the positional picks and kind of the priorities, but it's not going to be perfect. I called it here on Addison. I do think we're going to get Addison. I'm looking at a Ndunze, though, just in case. Olave is not there because of exposure. That's why we don't see Olave in this range. I got a lot of Olave. Olave is starting to come back to earth, though. I'm pretty sure Olave will start to appear here in a draft or two. And yeah, it's going to be Addison, just as I said. Same with Judy and Myers. Like, they are hidden by exposure. I can see them on the list there. This is going to be Addison here. And we are going to be back up here once again. We're going to go ahead and start starring these players. We do got Juwan Jennings on this list somewhere. Egbuka's gone. Let's get Golden on the list. Golden's gone? Golden's gone? Dang. Okay, Reed and Downs. And there's so many times I'm looking at this group of people here. Golden's starting to get picked a little more aggressively, I notice. Again, according to the way my tier list works, all these guys are the same tier. So the way Huddle Genius views these players, they're all interchangeable. You know, Golden, Reed, Downs, they're all the same quality player. That's why, like, tiers, we're saying this is a clump of players, right? And they're all somewhat similar. You could say, oh, this is probably the, you know, the better player of the tier. You know, you can certainly make that argument, but you're also saying, well, they're all kind of similar. All right, we are moving to running back now. We got Brian Robinson Jr., Jalen Warren, Jordan Mason, and J.K. Dobbins. My guess here will be Dobbins. Dobbins does have the fist in there. Dobbins is a tier 6. The other ones are all tier 5. I don't know why Dobbins is back so far. Like, Dobbins was such a killer last year for the Chargers. Like, he was good. He's actually a big reason why I lost some ground in best ball last year. As you can see, I kind of have him. I mean, if I get him this draft, he'll probably be right around the middle for my exposure allowed. Right now, he's... well, actually, I'm sorry. I'll be a little higher, I should say. Because I only allow 10.5, so he's actually doing... We're actually at decent exposure compared to our other things. Also, J.K. Dobbins does stack there against Jaden Reed week 16 or week 15. I like that. But I am watching. It is always possible we could end up with Jalen Warren also. Brian Robinson would be pretty hopeful. I would say the most important thing with archetypes, though, also is that your roster makeup is the same. So, like, we're doing a 2-5-9-2, which is pretty unique. Like, we don't have, you know, that number combination is definitely something that is not what we see all the time. You know, it's obviously more wide receiver heavy. It's funny how, like, my first 3 picks were all, like, round 1 players not too long ago. How best ball changes. I have no problem getting Brian Robinson Jr. here. I mean, I'm talking up Dobbins, but if we get Robinson, who is considered a tier 5, I'll take it. I switch out my tier list about every 2 or 3 days, or I would say about every 3 or 4 drafts. The tier list, I think, you always want to get fresh opinions. Now, that said, if you are somebody that says, I am going with this tier list the whole season, every draft I'm doing is this tier list, you can certainly do that with Huddle Genius. It'll still respect your exposures and shared exposures, so you won't end up with like, hey, I got 1 million of this guy because they're putting him as way above everybody else. But there will certainly be clumps of players we're going to be like having more of, especially if the tier list puts somebody higher than their ADP. You'll have more of them. And obviously the opposite is true as well. You know, if somebody's tier is lower than their ADP, you won't have much of them. A good example for me, Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't have much Marvin Harrison Jr. because almost every tier list I have, there we go, we got Jalen Warren, I'm happy with that. Every tier list I have has him fairly low compared to his ADP, so I just don't have much of them. And there are other players like that come to mind. Tyreek Hill, who I just got, he's a wide receiver 3, so in that clump of players, I'm not sure that he really fits the ADP. I got him here, and I'm happy with that. I think he was bumped up by the matchup. I guess I don't recall. Here, by the way, we are going to the first tight end pick in round 9. That'll be Tyler Warren. We'll see if we get that. By the way, this tight end 9 pick is the exact same way that this Best Ball Mania 2 winner picked. Their first tight end was picked in round 9. So like I said, a lot of the spirit of this is similar. Now, that's not to say, you know, you ask one of these guys, hey, are you going to draft the same exact way this year? Probably not. You know, they might be like, no, this is the round that has value. This is the round that, you know, obviously, and just by looking at the winners each year, you can just see like, oh, these are different strategies year to year. There is not like, this is the strategy to use. There is not that type of emphasis, I would say. You've had things where, you know, early running backs are important. You've had things where a run of wide receivers won the whole thing. In this Best Ball Mania 2, that early quarterback in round 5 for that specific year was very important. You know, it kind of just depends on which one you're looking at. The last Best Ball Mania winner, very balanced roster. You know, it wasn't anything that cute. And they won the whole thing. So you can't really rule out anything. Should be good here on Herbert. We're picking Herbert 7 picks early. There's lots of quarterbacks on the board also. I was looking at our targets here. I don't think we're picking anybody with Josh Allen, and I'm absolutely fine with that. I was looking at the soft targets down there. Nope, we're not. And that's fine. I do, so for the Buffalo Bills, I do allow a 0 soft target count. I did that for a bunch of the rushing quarterbacks for myself. So like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. I believe I have it set for Drake May, Jaden Daniels. Basically what I do is allow a 0 wide receiver pick. So we don't necessarily need to pair a soft target with those quarterbacks. Which by lowering your soft target requirements does allow more flexibility when it's picking quarterbacks. So I highly recommend doing that, especially for quarterbacks that you are absolutely fine having alone. Then set that, you know, by all means. Also with these archetype strategies, because so many rounds have restrictions, it can be a little harder for soft targets to be determined. Currently, I think I have positions respected. Yeah, I do. So because positions are respected, we are not going to go too crazy. If you run one of these archetypes and you have positions ignored for stacking, you're going to be kind of having like a weird hybrid of that archetype plus, you know, populating your soft targets. So it's a little different. But you'd end up with like some weird mutation of the archetype plus however you're picking. So it'd be kind of interesting. You'd have a different type of team. It's kind of funny I'm picking Herbert here. I have like absolutely, you know, if somebody is watching this, they'd be like, why'd that guy pick Herbert? Well, I'm picking Herbert. All right, we get Justin Herbert here at pick 10. And we are going to wide receivers. So here you can see another good example of the 4 super stacks. We got Trey Harris getting bumped up. I'm just going to put Trey Harris here. So this is an interesting situation. You do have Keenan Allen, but Keenan Allen is considered a tier 8. Youch. So that's why Keenan Allen's way below all the rest of these players. If Keenan Allen and Trey Harris were both tier 7, Trey Harris would still be listed first. I'm just keeping Trey Harris here. If somebody picks Trey Harris, I'm going to have to think on my feet quickly. There we go. We are getting Trey Harris here. And I could tell that was an audible because it took a second there to load. So normally we would have been going to a... Was this a wide receiver, I think? Well, I don't know what it was, but whatever it is, it switched. Did not like our choices there. We're going to go ahead and star these players. I'm not sure we're going to get any of these players, by the way. We got Ray Davis, Tyjae Spears, and Jaden Blue. Jaden Blue is at our ADP. I don't think Ray Davis is going to be there, and I'm pretty sure Spears won't be there. So basically, if Jaden Blue gets picked, we might have to re-roll here and see what we get. I've noticed, though, if you pick Justin Herbert, you can usually get Trey Harris pretty easily or Keenan Allen after. So it's like very great, like, hey, you need to think on your feet, get a quarterback quick. You pick up Justin Herbert, you know, in the middle of the draft, and you just grab somebody that pairs with him right away. Yes, you don't have Ladd McConkey, but you're still getting good pieces of that offense. And look, I got Quentin Johnson coming up next round. And then I got Oronde Gadsden. Dude, I've got this Chargers tight ends every time I've had Herbert. And the thing is, the tight ends for the Chargers, all 3 of them are like perfectly equal. I've just been picking one at random. The reason it's putting Gadsden on there is because Gadsden, I think it's just first on the list, if that makes sense. So So bring up the Chargers. See, he's first on the list. Oh, and this too. See the ADP? So because Gadsden has higher ADP, Gadsden's first. Like, Huddle Genius considers Gadsden the tight end for that team. But we know that that is not true. That it could be any three of those guys. The projection is the same for all three. So what I do is I'll just kind of pick one randomly. You know, whether it's Tyler Conklin, Disley, or Gadsden. I mean, is Gadsden... I wish they had a blurb about Gadsden in here. Like, is there a reason to pick Gadsden? Come on, write something. Come on. Is there anything about the other guys? I know that they picked up... I wish they let you sort here. Yeah, they picked up Tyler Conklin, sees one target. Disley finds end zone in preseason opener. Oh, okay. Maybe I'll pick up Disley this time. We'll pick up Disley. Well, our more pressing issue here in 5 picks, are we going to get which running back we're going to get? Looking actually better now for Jaden Blue. Especially if a running back is not picked next, we should be good. I don't think we're going to get Spears though. Okay, that was a running back. I didn't like that. Okay, we should be good here. I'm happy with that. It would have been a little rough if we had to skip here. I'm not sure what it would have pivoted to. It probably would have had to go back to wide receivers. All of our tight ends are spoken for. Because we are last picking the Charger tight end. What? That guy picked Jaden Blue randomly? What in the world? Oh my gosh, we're gonna have to skip. I think we're gonna have to skip. I'm watching. Spears is hurt. I don't think anybody's picking him. Unlucky. We're taking Spears. The good thing is with Spears, though, even though he's hurt, we do have 4 running backs already picked. Oh, look at this pick. Yeah, Keenan Allen's long gone. I mean, that's nice, hopeful thinking, but... So one of the things with Huddle Genius is if we have a soft target, it will suggest your, hey, if they're there, pick them instead situation. Keenan Allen obviously is gone. Picked at 130 ADP. I have him bumped up a little bit, so that's not reality. Reality is, I think his ADP is actually 140-ish. All right, we do pick Quentin Johnston here. And we are going back to wide receivers. Round 14 wide receiver, round 15. Oh, yeah, everything's wide receiver except the last pick. So we pretty much know what we're doing right now until the end of the draft. I'm going to go ahead and star everybody here since we do have time. Wow, these are players I have a lot of. So these players are just starting to become available again. Leggett, 9.3. Thielen just came off. Wandale just came off. And Thornton. I'll say Thielen and Robinson I knew I have a lot of. Leggett out there doing a UFC match. Good thing with this list, though, is that 3 of these 4 look very available. We probably won't get Leggett. Honestly, with Leggett doing that in the preseason, though, who knows? Maybe he'll be losing his starting job. I like Wandale, too. Wandale chewed up so many targets last year. I wouldn't sleep on the Giants quarterback, or the Giants wide receivers. I think that there is a lot of potential value there with them. You know, sometimes you gotta ask yourself, like, can you actually argue that, let's just say hypothetically, Jaden Reed, who I picked in the 7th round. Can you really say that you think Jaden Reed will be more involved than Wandale Robinson? I don't think so. I think, you know, a wide receiver that I think is going to get massive targets is way more important. And with the Packers after last year, I don't know. Addison, too, kind of a similar situation. Although Addison actually did pretty good last year, if I recall. We are at a B uniqueness score right now. The uniqueness score is based upon the exposure of our team compared to our other teams at this exact point in the draft. So this is comparing, the first 13 picks of our draft versus the other 13 picks of all 97 drafts that we have stored. So that is live and updating every time we make a pick. And, it's kind of like the stock ticker here, up and down, letting you know what's happening. So our last pick lowered it with Quentin Johnston. A lot of Quentin Johnston on our rosters. And Thielen or Robinson is definitely going to lower it again. Both of those, just coming off the exposure limit. Whoever I pick here will not be available next draft because of the exposure. Okay. Let's see who it's going to be. Thielen or Wandale. Wandale does have the matchup versus the Vikings. It is going to be Thielen. Thielen it is. And we do got an audible called here in round 15. I do not believe it's a position change. So in this case, the audible is it just reaching a little bit further. That's what this is exactly. Is this McMillan on the list? No. Pat Bryant's not on the list. So it's going to be Wandale or Alec Pierce. I don't think I need to star anybody else. I'll star Horton just in case. It's going to be one of these three. See, the reach went a little farther. That's why we have the 185, 189. We had to populate a little bit more here, I think. Yeah, we can't pick any other position other than wide receiver, so maybe we'll end up with Wandale anyway. That's pretty wild if I do. Why is McMillan falling so much? Long catch in preseason over, huh? Alright, we take Wandale here. And now we have fallen to a C+ uniqueness score. That's fine. Alright, we're going to start starring here. Michael Wilson, Torrey Horton, Jalen Noel, and Darius Slayton. I'm thinking in my head right now if I have Russell Wilson as a possible quarterback. I think I do. Because we're using this Best Ball Mania 2 archetype, though, we could not have gotten Russell Wilson. Because with this archetype, it does have the elite quarterback enabled, so we're like basically guaranteeing an early quarterback and then a quarterback in this, 10th round area. So that's why this one, the other archetypes, you might see different quarterbacks a little farther back. Jalen Noel, I feel like I have a bunch of, yeah. And Slayton as well. For the sake of differences, I kind of hope it's Michael Wilson. Don't have a lot of them. And I think that seems like a pretty safe bet. Torrey Horton, I was like, who is that? I think I picked, looks like I picked them once, so. So if you're watching this, I'm curious, what you think if, this roster makes sense. Like, do you like it? I can see the potential there. In your mind, you're seeing those first three picks, you're like, those are three players that could all potentially be the one at their position. Barkley 1, Allen 1. And there was a world where Tyreek Hill was, you know, very high up. I'm not super high on Tyreek Hill this year. I don't know where Tyreek Hill is going to go this year. Travion Henderson, James Conner, I also really like those two picks. The Jordan, Jaden, Jalen's, the triple J's there, or I guess there's a James too, the quadruple J's. But those receivers there, Jordan Addison, Jaden Reed, you know, interesting picks. The wide receiver core of this one doesn't have me super excited, but I feel like we got really good floors receivers on this with Thielen and Robinson later on. I kind of like that. And with Tyreek Hill, you have that high upside possible. Same with Addison. And there was a world where Reed was getting a lot of points. I don't think that happened last year, but the year before. With Matthew Golden, I'm not sure how that will affect Reed. I would have much rather had Matthew Golden in that spot, but Matthew Golden didn't really line up with our ADP. He was on our list, just didn't get him. It's interesting too here with this wide receiver pushed to 17. I think that's because it got pushed due to us calling an audible earlier, but it really didn't change anything. This strategy ended up being fairly running back front loaded, which is fine because we're not picking a lot of running backs. So I kind of like that. All right, here's Horton getting picked for us. Puts us up to a B grade, 1%, like that. And now we got a big old laundry list of receivers to add to our list. Noel. This could be a Noel situation. I'm not even sure I need to add many more. And this is, like I was saying before, you don't need to add every single one. You know? This isn't a typing test. I would just, you know, add 4, call it a day. Especially here, I'm 3 picks away. I don't need to type them all because it's going to be one of these 4. Because everything with Huddle Genius, we start from the top of the list to go down. Very cool here. Every single listing is a matchup. I love seeing that. So we are going to be building upon the team we already have. You can see those fists in the air starting to pop up. Currently, we allow matchups from 15 to 17 that are valid. And we are picking Slayton here. Wow. Okay. Oh, my goodness. And our last pick here is going to be... I think I was saying I was going to go with Disley this time. I'm going to pick Disley. I'm going to star them all just in case. It's going to be one of these 3 guys. Disley, Conklin, or Gadsden. I'm going to do Disley this time. I don't think I have Disley at all. I mean, none of these guys I have that much because I'm kind of swapping them from time to time. We will end up with probably a B grade, depending on who I take here. You don't get a huge bump with your uniqueness score at the last pick because of... in general, teams tend to pick lower exposed players on the last pick just because it's kind of usually just like a bumper of what you already have picked, if that makes sense. So, you know, there's 32 teams, and it's usually just going to be some random target for one of those teams if it's valid. A lot of times I have the Chargers. It's usually one of those tight ends in this spot. Because Huddle Genius is like, hey, it's round 18. Let's just put one of those soft targets there. You know, if there's a valid soft target. And that's exactly what happened here. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. I like it when everything kind of makes sense for a team, and I can definitely say that all of this makes sense together. We got tons of Chargers with Justin Herbert. We got Josh Allen. We got strong running back core. We even got a stack with who's the Eagles with? The Bills. Okay, I like that. So we got Barkley versus Josh Allen there. You know, you got this week 17 all-star matchup here between two of the best, possibly two teams playing for a division. I like that. You know, the narrative writes itself. With all these Giants, they are matched up against the Vikings. That's not super important. I mean, that's just Jordan Addison at the moment. And that is, what, week 16? We did not end up with any matchups for our Chargers. I'm not a super huge matchup-focused drafter. I know that some people are, you know, holding up a copy of week 17 in their hands and drafting. I do try to focus on matchups a little bit, but it's not, for me, the most important part of a team. I think the cohesion of the team and respecting your exposures and stuff is probably more important. Because if you always tie certain teams together, you may sink your teams, is the way I'd think it. Like, let's say hypothetically, you know, let's say every single time I draft Eagles, I draft Bills. But maybe you don't want to be doing that. That's what I'm getting at. Maybe one of these teams is great, and those pieces matter. And then the one time that, like, let's say week 15, for whatever reason, let's just say Josh Allen sucks, right? Josh Allen doesn't do well week 15, or Josh Allen's hurt. And every single time we have the Eagles, this is actually a very good example. Let's just say every time we had the Eagles, we try to get Josh Allen. But for whatever reason, Josh Allen got hurt. And then we have these Eagles that maybe we're doing good, but we don't have, like, a quarterback. All right, I got to add Disley in there. If that makes sense what I'm saying. So, like, I'm not somebody that always wants to attach two teams together. I even think it's dangerous to always attach the same players together. That's why with Huddle Genius, we have the shared exposure. You know, let's say you always attach your quarterbacks, wide receivers, but maybe you don't always want that whole group of wide receivers or multiple receivers, or maybe that quarterback goes down. Maybe the wide receiver goes down. There's just so much that can happen. But anyway, that is it here. We are 42 minutes into this one. The draft is over. That was using the Best Ball Mania 2 winning archetype. So one of the first times recording one of these videos using one of those archetypes. We're going to try to get some more of these into a video. But hopefully you enjoyed watching. It's definitely fun for me to see what Huddle Genius comes up with using these winning archetypes. So again, thank you so much for watching.